The lack of policy implementation is a real concern for business and the economy. Political economist Ralph Mateja says South Africa is facing technical problems.
We don't have a philosophical problems in South Africa. We have some technical issues. What we are seeing is not a redefining of a philosophy regarding the importance of capital, maybe emergence of what you can call radical leftists and so forth. The ANC, of course, has a right to go the populist, as you say, because they failed to implement those policies in the last 23 years. Business has to understand the ANC to say that the ANC taking populist does not necessarily mean it is going to engage in those radical shifts. It is just a way for the ANC to reconnect with its parties. The question is, how do you actually draw that line? Because as much as this is the war of rhetoric, you cannot rule out the possibility of actually going that populist. So you have checks and balances expressing themselves in this relationship between capital, in the private sector, political parties, civil society, including trade unions.
The theme of the State of the Nation address last week was radical economic transformation. But one panelist suggested that government and the ruling party are not convincing enough to push for much-needed transformation, saying that the ANC is unable to implement its own resolutions.
Nobody's buying this story, although the president makes this dramatic announcement, what should be a dramatic announcement. The backstory to it is that this, the radical economic transformation was actually the key theme of the NC's Mangaung conference. Sure. So the brink would have been that this announcement should have been February 2013, particularly on the issue of land, considering all the the build-up of rhetoric. This should have been the moment where we see it, but clearly. The NC is creating this impression that it is talking to that its program in government is talking to what it decides at its conferences, but that we can clearly see that is now no longer the case.
Dr. Miriam Altman, former Chief of Strategy at Telkom and Commissioner at the National Planning Commission, agrees that implementation remains a problem for government. She expects a lot of political instability in the near future.
When we look in the near future, I think you're going to see a lot of political volatility. I think that's certain. So you can just expect it. It's going to happen. I think you're going to see changes and more eruptions, like fees must fall potentially in civil society. But the thing I see is a growing, vibrant democracy, which is something that we didn't have before. And that strengthens outcomes forcefully. And you see it all the time. The fight over the mining charter, yeah, it's taken a long time. But when crazy proposals come out, there's a civil society that's grouping around. And so if I were to say, what would one want to get involved in then? That's what you need to get involved in. You need to be active citizens. And that's a key message in the NDP.
On the macroeconomic front, the conference also heard that South Africa has to grow at 1% and above and faster than the population rate for it to make progress. But it's unlikely that this will be achieved in the next 3 years. Diabosito, SABC News, Johannesburg.